This message comes from NPR sponsor Raymond James, a firm where wealth management, banking, and capital markets solutions start with the connections between people. That's the power of personal. Disclosures at raymondjames.com.
How would you describe the World Cup vibes this year in a sentence?
I am so happy and excited to see the sport that I absolutely love being watched and enjoyed by people who don't usually watch or enjoy soccer.
I love that. What about you, Juliana? How would you describe the World Cup vibes this year in a sentence?
I think there's a level of surprise because leading up to the World Cup, you know, there was a lot of concerns of how this was going to exactly shake out. But I think that there is a level of surprise when I talk to my friends and fans of how smoothly and joyous this occasion has been so far.
So the World Cup is on, and the U.S. is one of the countries hosting, along with Canada and Mexico. I'd be surprised if you listeners had not heard this by now, or if you hadn't seen the posts on social media. And I'm not talking about posts of amazing plays or fantastic goals on the soccer fields. I mean the posts about all the people coming here to be part of it and to see America. And apparently we're also, showing a lot of World Cup fans and players a good time. The town of Lawrence, Kansas has fully embraced the Algerian team, which is staying there. I could not escape videos of Americans partying down with the Scottish fans in Boston. But all this celebration, as sweet as it is, it kind of comes at a strange time. Politically, the U.S. is more isolationist and less welcoming than honestly it feels like almost at any other point in my living memory. And to that point, several World Cup officials from countries like Somalia and Iran were not allowed to come, and travel bans have kept many Haitian fans from being able to see their team play here. Even Cape Verdean goalkeeper Vozinha, the hero Vozinha, cried after a stellar performance because he wished his mom could be there to see it, and fans were outraged that she had trouble getting a visa to come here. I wanted to think a bit more deeply about how this World Cup is reflecting America back at us. To that end, I've invited Jasmine Gars, NPR immigration correspondent who's covering the World Cup right now. Welcome back, Jasmine.
Hi.
And Juliana Kim, reporter on NPR's national desk, who's also covering the Cup. Welcome back to you, Juliana.
Hi there.
Hello, hello. I'm Brittany Luce, and you're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR, a show about what's going on in culture and why it doesn't happen by accident. And a reminder, if you love It's Been a Minute, which from the sweet comments y'all have been leaving, it sounds like maybe you do, be sure to follow or subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app. That way you get new episodes the moment they drop. Jasmine, Juliana, what were your favorite posts that you saw on social media of people enjoying the World Cup?
Okay, like the unlimited chips and salsa.
Oh, the Japanese tourist who was like humbled by the unlimited chips and salsa.
And also realizes at some point that it's unlimited and he cannot say no to a gift. And I think it's so funny because it really goes to this ethos in the US of like $9.99, all you can eat, unlimited everything, bottomless, versus in other countries where things are like, like more portioned. There's portions. And it's also so sweet to see yourself and your country through a different lens. I think that's always really sweet.
Absolutely. And we are going to get more into that because I've really been enjoying that as well. But what about you, Juliana? Like what's like a favorite post that you saw online?
A few days into the World Cup, when we were starting to see a lot of this fanfare and posts from tourists around their travels, there was a lot of anticipation around Buc-ee's.
Oh, like the big gas station chain in the South?
Yes. None of the tourists have yet made it to Buc-ee's, and everyone was commenting, please go to Buc-ee's, what feels like almost like a Mecca in the South. And I can relate because when I had first moved to Tennessee, I also remember so many people recommending going to Buc-ee's. When I went, I was also in awe. And so I think I was just having a great time watching both the anticipation, like every day people checking, like have people made it to a Buc-ee's yet? Again, it's that aspect of abundance. of how is this considered a gas station, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, that phrase has never been said. There's a lot of anticipation about getting to Buc-ee's. That's the first time that phrase has ever been uttered.
Very fair. I mean, there are so many moments that I can think of. I mean, a Swedish fan was extolling the virtues of ranch, a Japanese tourist, captioning a picture of downtown Memphis at sunset, saying it's an unbelievable sight, which it is, but that's not exactly always, I think, like what we think that a Japanese tourist would love about America. It's like a downtown at sunset. Okay. I mean, multiple posts, as you all mentioned, praising Buc-ee's, Waffle House, Chicago deep dish. I mean, there was one I saw that described an Atlanta Taco Bell as the Holy Land, and I can't disagree.
Listen, I mean, I've had after a night been like, it is the Holy Land.
It is I was going to say about 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning when that fourth meal hits.
It is.
It starts feeling and looking like the Holy Land. You've both talked to foreign fans about their experience of America. What did they have to say about it? Juliana, let's start with you.
Fans told me that they were surprised coming here and just experiencing the friendliness, the hospitality among Americans. They mentioned how in the news as of late, the U.S., at least from the top down, has not seemed like the most welcoming country, particularly, right, toward foreigners. And so they were pleasantly surprised to find that this wasn't the case on the ground.
Yeah, I've heard that, fans talk about how welcoming it is. I've heard fans complain about how expensive it is. I had a French fan tell me, how can you pay this much for beer? Good question. But for the most part, talking about how welcoming and warm and fun it is. And I think what's really interesting about this is that it is a moment of pause. Much like when a fan recently said, I love ranch dressing, I stopped for a moment. I was like, what is ranch dressing? There's a similar thing that, with fans talking about how warm and embracing the U.S. is, that I think it is a moment of asking oneself, what is the U.S.? And I think we've had that moment over and over again for the last 15 or 16 months, right? Like we've been told from the top down, from the administration and from the ruling party right now, that the U.S. is fundamentally at its core a country that is closed, that does not want foreigners, that is not open, and that is xenophobic. And so then I think part of the great joy, one of the reasons people are enjoying this cup so much is this moment of seeing that this isn't entirely the case, that there are people in the U.S. that are incredibly welcoming and friendly and that want moments like these.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, even just there's the ranch of it all, which I'm like, ranch is a uniquely Black American invention, I must say, when you look up the history of it. And as I was telling our producer Liam and our editor Neena, when we were preparing for this episode, I said that if the French had invented it, it would be a mother sauce. So I'm glad that Europeans are finally noticing what real ranch is about. The TSA actually had to post on social media begging European travelers to not try to take bottles of ranch back in their luggage because you can't carry liquids out of the country like that. But I wonder, have you all chatted with Americans about what they see reflected back? Like, Juliana, did that come up in any of the people that you've spoken to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that Americans, excuse my pun, have been eating up, right, the stories of tourists eating at Buc-ee's and at Waffle House. I think Americans are finding these narratives refreshing and hopeful and kind of like a pat on the back and a resistance to this larger perception, as we're talking about, that the U.S. is not a welcoming place. That being said, I think there's also, part of this discourse where not everyone is buying into this. And there's been comparisons of how welcoming host country Mexico is compared to the US government. I just did a story about Mexico and South Korea in particular, and how a mariachi band came to meet the South Korean squad, or how there's tons of videos, right, of locals in Mexico partying with Korean fans, right? But it's not just South Korea. I think about how Mexico embraced the Iranian team and Iranian fans when it faced, restrictions and hostilities in the US, amid the war too.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm seeing so many different aspects of like how Americans, I think, want to see themselves and hope to come across in many cases, and that is rubbing up against the, let's say, rather cold reception for not just visitors and travelers, but also immigrants in this country coming from our government.
Listen, I think also, like, there's a reality. There's two coexisting realities here. The U.S. has policies in place that are not just anti-immigrant or immigrant restrictionist. There are accusations of very severe human rights abuses, right? We are at a moment in which there are consistently around 60,000 people in immigration detention reporting conditions that are horrifying. And consistently around 70% have no criminal conviction. And it hasn't escaped me. I'm based in New York. I've been doing a lot of coverage in the New York, New Jersey, in the stadium. And around 15 minutes away from that stadium, there is a detention center, Delaney Hall, where there have been hunger strikes because of allegations of inhumane conditions in this ICE facility. And so there is a reality, and I think a lot of Americans are very cognizant of this, right? There's the word sports washing has come around too, that, we're in this moment where the two things are happening. We're having this great love fest and celebration, and these policies are still in place, and they're taking a toll on a lot of communities.
To your point, we're talking about Americans more generally being welcoming. Obviously, there is a whole other federal detainment campaign program that's happening at the exact same time, as you mentioned, only miles sometimes from where these games are being played, and where people are gathering in sort of the name of like sportsmanship and love and fun. But also, in addition to that, there have been these political blocs against certain people coming to join that fun as well that also feels very connected to the overall anti-immigration campaign of our federal government right now. But I'm wondering, Juliana, have any of these sorts of reflections come up with the fans that you're speaking to as well?
I think for even seeing the Cape Verde player and his mom being able to come to the U.S. to see him, you kind of have to take that and reflect on that alongside like the Somali referee or the Iraqi photographer who weren't able to come to the US, right? And that, like, I was happy for the Cape Verde player, but, he's just one of the dozens and who knows how many who are facing, right, trouble at security or at TSA or who are not able to come to the US and enjoy the World Cup because of the policies right now.
I don't know if, for example, Bostonians would have been as welcoming to as many Haitian fans as they were to that ocean of Scottish fans that came through. The Scottish fans look like they were having a ball. I wish I could have been in Boston to hang out with them. Like, they drank like the bar, at least one of the bars dry. And like I saw one city worker who I think had to clean up some sort of public park or green space in Boston, saying at least like they're like, hey, look, the Scottish people came, they're having a good time, they're drinking like fish, but they actually cleaned up their trash after themselves. So like it made it really easy for me to do my job. And I think it was beautiful to see all of those moments, but also I say this as a person with a lot of family in Boston. There are a lot of Haitians in Boston. And I don't know if they're always as warmly received as these Scottish visitors received during this World Cup time. And I say this as a person who's been Black for almost 39 years. I just don't know if the news reports would have been the same. Coming up after the break.
So, it's become a sport in that vein for the elites. It's become an oligarchic event almost. Really, who can afford to spend this kind of money on tickets for one person?
Stick around.
This message comes from Sattva. Declare your independence from back pain and sleepless nights with a handcrafted luxury mattress from Sattva. You'll save up to $625 when you visit sattva.com/NPR during their July 4th sale. This message comes from IXL. The IXL Level Up Diagnostic gives you clear, just-in-time insight into student learning with benchmark results and real-time updates throughout the year. Even better, Level Up creates a personalized action plan for every student that guides them to what they should practice on IXL to improve. Learn more at IXL.com/NPR. This message comes from Mint Mobile. If you're tired of spending hundreds on big wireless bills, bogus fees, and free perks, Mint Mobile is for you. Shop plans at mintmobile.com/switch. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. This message comes from BetterHelp. People talk about mental health more openly now, but asking for help can still feel hard. BetterHelp's 2026 State of Stigma report surveyed 2,000 Americans and found that 85% believe getting support is wise, yet 74% say society discourages people from doing so. Don't let stigma stand in the way of support. Start therapy with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/NPR.
I feel like we can't talk about sort of the geopolitics of all this without talking about the FIFA of it all. The organization responsible for putting on the World Cup. A lot of soccer fans I know kind of look askance at it as an organization. And to be clear, I mean, the ticket prices for a lot of these games are sky high. Even as we're talking about people, I mean, listen, I wanted to go. And as soon as I saw the tickets, I closed my laptop. I said, oh, this is not for me. I mean, we're talking sometimes 4 figures. 5 figures for seats. I mean, this is a lot of money. But even as we're talking about people coming together, not everyone has the money to actually be a part of the fun in the same way.
I mean, and I think for a lot of South Americans, I'm South American, watching Americans grapple with the corruption of FIFA for the first time is hilarious almost, because we've been dealing with it for a lifetime. Like FIFA is like, an entity in the sky in our lives. It's in politics, it's present in the economy. And I think, what I'm seeing with this World Cup is that it is completely inaccessible for a lot of people. I've been spending so much of this World Cup in immigrant communities in different parts of the country, with people who couldn't even dream to afford it, but are watching from home. And I think there's something really sad about that. I think, soccer, the beauty of soccer, football, is that anyone can play it anywhere. All you need is a sort of spherical object, and you can play it. And it really kind of detaches from the soul of soccer. And I think it also follows in what we're seeing here in the US, and so much of the world is like this K-shaped economy we keep talking about, right? And so, it's become a sport in that vein for the elites. It's become an oligarchic event almost. Really, who can afford to spend this kind of money on tickets for one person?
I have a Spanish tutor that I see every week, and for the past 2.5 years, and he lives in Colombia. And he was asking me, he's like, oh, they're going to be having World Cup in New York, New Jersey. Are you going to go? And I told him, I was like, yo, dude, it's $100 to take the train. Normally it's $6, $4, $5, something like that, to take the train from Manhattan into New Jersey to go to watch, to go to MetLife or wherever they're having it. And it's I was like, yeah, no, it's $100-something. And he was like, why? And I was like, FIFA, of course. And New Jersey called them out. New Jersey was quick to be like, hey, this was not our choice. FIFA wanted to pass these prices on to us. Yeah. And that would otherwise be coming out of your pocket as taxpayers. So there you go. But yeah, it's been interesting to see people kind of grapple with that. I wonder, both of you having reported on this World Cup and seeing this fellowship arise, what are you going to take away from it?
Well, I think for me, in the past, I have reported on my home team.
Argentina?
Yes, that's right. This World Cup, I really wanted to put a different hat on and just enjoy beautiful soccer from all teams. And not necessarily root for a team I love, but just root for good soccer. And I really mean that. Like, it has been so beautiful to just enjoy a beautiful sport. And to be able to watch Mbappe play in person, and to watch Vozinha, and to watch these players and not be blinded by a narrower lens of just watching your own team and rooting for your team. But when I'm a fan, that's what I'm doing. But as a journalist, to be able to root for the sport, that's been just such an extraordinary experience.
Oh, that's so wonderful. I love that. What about you, Juliana? What are you going to take away from all this?
Yeah, this has been the first World Cup in a while that I've been able to watch with my dad, who is the reason I even got into the tournament, when I was a kid.
That.
And so on a personal level, it's very meaningful to me. I've also just enjoyed kind of experiencing the World Cup with folks who maybe aren't exactly into soccer. Right, one of the anticipation and the hope of the World Cup being in the U.S. is that we're going to see another resurgence of fans. We're going to see and I think I'm starting to see that in the works. I'm also curious exactly what the logistics and how all of this is going to pan out, because, the big question is, are we ready for the Olympics? No. Just a reminder, we're just beginning, I think, a years-long saga of world, global events coming to the U.S. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh, we will definitely see how that goes. I wouldn't bet on it just yet. I wouldn't run to Kalshi right now saying that America's ready for the Olympics. But the World Cup, we seem to be, at least on an everyday human level, for the average American who's interacting with our visitors who are joining us for the World Cup, it seems like we're doing a pretty decent job. Oh my gosh. Juliana, Jasmine, thank you both so much. I have really enjoyed this chat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was Jasmine Gars, NPR immigration correspondent who's covering the World Cup right now, and Juliana Kim, reporter on NPR's National Desk, who's also covering the Cup. This episode of It's Been a Minute was produced by
Corey Antonio Rose,
Liam McBain.
This episode was edited by
Neena Pathak.
Our supervising producer is
Cher Vincent.
Our executive producer is
Barton Girdwood.
Our VP of programming is
Yolanda Sangweni.
All right, that's all for this episode of It's Been a Minute from NPR. I'm Brittany Luce. Talk soon.
This message comes from Whole Foods Market. The ultimate cookout starts with the ultimate ingredients. At Whole Foods Market, no antibiotics ever burgers and kebabs are prepped and ready to throw on the grill. Fire up a juicy ribeye. Grab creamy potato salad and savory flatbreads from the prepared foods department. And round it all out with 365 brand condiments, chips, and dips at everyday low prices. Whole Foods Market. Make your summer sizzle. This message comes from Lisa. Lisa has a lineup of beautifully crafted mattresses tailored to how you sleep. Each mattress is designed with specific sleep positions and feel preferences in mind. From night one, you'll feel the difference. Premium materials that deliver serious comfort and full body support, no matter how you sleep. Go to lisa.com for 30% off mattresses, plus get an extra $50 off with promo code NPR.